Well, so they have a tendency
So
to get upset if you don't. If you don't.
as you put it, we were initially trying not to contract with the court.
Now, what you mean by contract with the court? What does that mean?
Enter their jurisdiction.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Agree to what they were saying.
Well, just out of curiosity now, how in the world did you get in the court so you could challenge your jurisdiction? I mean, what was the issue?
I had purchased some property in that village and had actually improved its appearance, its overall use, made it a better thing in the community, and they actually cited me for doing that.
Oh, they cited you for improving the property?
Yeah. Not in those exact words. They cited me for a zoning infraction.
Well,
in other words, you have these corporations chartered by the state who are allowed to make their own rules, and they can make essentially any rule, even though it's possibly in violation of not only the federal Constitution, but the state Constitution. And it's done rampantly throughout the country all the time.
Well, let me just stop you a minute. Now, was there a court stenographer when you were in the court to take a record of what was going on?
I believe there was. I'm not sure of that. I'd have to look back on my notes.
Okay. Well, you read around in judicial writings that any court without, particularly a municipal court, without a recording stenographer there, those are called black market courts. In other words, they do whatever is the chancellery or the impulse of the judge, and the judge is usually a local lawyer or something like that. And these are municipal courts. They're categorized as inferior courts. So I'm trying to determine whether you were in a court or were you in a black market court that was inferior, or was you in superior court? I'm lost as to the actual location. But you said this was a municipal judge, but if they had a recorder there, then it gave the appearance of being legitimate in their mind, right?
That's correct. You bring up a good point, and I can't say for sure one way or the other, but again, the point is well taken, and it is different from state to state, though, also.
Okay. Well, you're in the court, and you have committed a violation of a zoning ordinance. Now, there's no set of circumstances ever that you should be put in jail for any reason. A zoning ordinance is a penalty of fine or something. It's not a jailable offense. It's like we have here in Alabama. They just took a court that was basically putting people in jail if they didn't pay some fines or fees or recording costs. And if they didn't pay it at that moment, then they would multiply it several times. So the state court had to intervene, the superior court, the tribunal, I say, and basically remove that judge and stop the court's bad practices and what have you. And I hope send a message, but we're not supposed to have debtors' prisons. What do you think?
In this situation, this corporation not only didn't think that 10 days in jail for me was enough punishment, but they also thought, well, they should put my son in jail with me.
Well, let me ask this. Was this in Wisconsin?
This was in New Mexico.
New Mexico. What are they trying to do? Do away with their bonds? I mean, who would bond a city that conducts that kind of behavior?
It's certainly an area that you could challenge, or a citizen can challenge. But I chose to write a book about it.
Okay. And your book that you wrote on this particular thing called Welcome to Reality?
That's correct.
Okay.
That was my first book out.
How many years ago was that?
That was probably about 8 years ago.
8 years, okay.
I was 70 at the time. Interestingly enough, that led to the whole theme of corporocracy and corpocracy that I've been working on and have written extensively on. The year that I was born, 1933, is the year. Corporations go back a long, long way before 1933, but 1933 is the year that Roosevelt brought us out of the big, I shouldn't say recession.
Depression, I mean. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Via the Industrial Revolution, that's when corporations really started taking off and evolving into what they are now.
Well, I thought a corporation was valid maybe even during the previous century or the 18th century, 19th.
They go back a long way. Interestingly, 1933 is the year of the Industrial Revolution and when things started changing.
I got you. Well, corporations usually supposed to have a specific time. Like you can form a corporation to build a bridge, and when the bridge is built and it's over, then the corporation is dissolved. But what you're saying, they have a different form since 33, right?
That's right. You know, it's interesting. I picked up the paper. I don't know when it was, and I looked in, and here's 3 pages or more in the newspaper of corporations whose charter was being canceled by the state for non-payment.
Okay, now what does that mean? They have a license fee they're supposed to pay, is that right, or what?
That's correct, yeah. So there's the commerce aspect.
Well,
Otherwise, that corporation could exist as long as it wants.
Well, the question is, who would they go to collect the fee from? I mean, if a corporation doesn't exist and is in the grave, I mean, who's going to go there and say, look, I take the responsibility for this corporation, put me in jail? I mean,
the corporation, of course, has to be headed up by individuals.
Okay.
So you have your officers of the corporation. If those officers of the corporation don't pay their dues, they pretty much are killed.
Okay.
They're dead. They're gone.
As officers of that corporation, right? I mean, they don't actually shoot them or anything like that. They just
Right. No, the simile is not correct, but the corporation ends because there are other ways that the state can take away the charter, of course.
Let me ask you this just a second now.
It's interesting to see that here was like 1,000 or more corporations on this particular, and it happens every year, by the way, being shut down because they didn't pay their dues.
Let me ask you this now. We're going to go to the bottom of our news here in a couple of minutes, but before we do, I want you to be thinking about this. Now, our Constitution guarantees religious freedom. Now, how in the world can any state or federal government grant a license for a religious corporation? That would be an oxymoron at best.
That's an interesting question, and It's one that I am going to do further research on.
Well, we were fixing to go to, but you understand what I'm saying is, according to our Supreme Court, the Supreme Court said there are two governments in this country. One is under the Constitution, maintained by the Constitution with all its restrictions. Okay, that's one government. And then there's the Congress, which is maintained by statutes, policies, and regulations, and the Congress acts independent of the Constitution. Now, if I understand you correctly, what the Congress does really today is operate a corporation. Is that right or wrong? Is our government a corporation or not?
Actually, it's probably wrong.
Okay.
Our Congress is a part of the legislative branch of the government, separate from the judicial and separate from the executive.
Yes, but what this Supreme Court says is
they have to legislate laws that are in agreement with the Constitution, and the executive department has to sign those laws and put those laws into effect. And
hold on, we're going to
Hold on, we're going to take a break, okay? Okay.